All right, everybody, here we are. Day 15. 15 of 22 days talking about veteran suicide. And today has been an interesting day, a good day, actually. I have had a huge number of people reach out to me in some capacity to tell me how much the video from day 13 spoke to, how powerful it was. Um, and to be completely honest, when I made that one, I hoped for that kind of result. I hoped to bring those kind of feelings to people, that it was powerful, it spoke to them, it made them realize the issue of veteran suicide, to see it that vividly. But I was a little scared. I'll be honest. I'm like, hey, this could be too far. I could lose people. Uh, they could report me, delete me, go to Facebook jail, all of those things. Am I going to get banned? And then be stuck in the middle of a fundraiser that I can't talk about. But I've been incredibly humbled and happy with the results. Uh, I've had, again, numerous people reach out to me and tell me how powerful it is. That's the one that hit home for them. I've had numerous people check in on me. That's the point. Check in on your friends you are concerned about. It got that reaction too, which I want, not for myself per se, but that we start that process, that we start thinking, hey, I gotta check in on this person. you know, um, I think particularly coming from me, I think a lot of people look at me as a rather upbeat guy, a guy you wouldn't think of in that sort of a situation. Um, and I think it kind of hammered home that, hey, maybe it's going to be the person you don't expect. Maybe it's the person you think has everything perfect, has the best possible life you could think of. People, maybe you're even like, hey, I want their life. And you don't realize what's going on underneath the surface. And I think sometimes we dismiss that, like, oh, they can't be depressed. They can't have suicidal thoughts because look at the way they got it. It's not that bad. They got to be making that shit up. They're just doing it for attention. I would never want to assume anybody is saying, hey, I need help. Hey, I'm thinking of killing myself, as something that they would do for attention. Is it unfortunately something that happens? Sure. But is it worth gambling that person's life on so that you don't have to address it? Not at all. Even if it's the 3 millionth time somebody's cried wolf, I'd rather play it safe. So I appreciate everybody checking in with me, making sure I was okay. I think both because of the powerful nature of the video and because, quite frankly, that was rough. Just checking in on me. I appreciate that. Now do it for everybody else. Now reach out to all of your other friends. The other thing that has been absolutely amazing is the return on that emotional investment. Again, what are we doing with these 22 days? We're trying to raise money for Mission 22 so that we can bring awareness to veteran suicide, so we can provide help for veterans contemplating suicide, so we can provide services for a veteran to prevent and get ahead of the feelings of suicide. And this has been a fundraiser that, I'll be honest, I didn't have a lot of high expectations for. And here we are. I would say within 24 hours, give or take, of that video being posted, or really being posted when people were around to watch it. I posted it like midnight-ish of the day I recorded it. But then I reposted it around lunchtime the following day. And that's when it started to take off. That's when people really saw it. So in just over 24 hours, donations started to increase. And we had kind of leveled off. It had been a few days since anything had happened. And I was starting to think, well, has this thing run its course? Is this the end of it? Are we where we're at? And I was happy. 1750 is where we were at. That was fantastic. Last check, we're now over $2,000. That video, since that video posted, the day 13 video, here we are, day 15, $405 by my last check was the increase. Now, I know he's going to watch this video. So just for your awareness, we do have our silent sponsor, our invisible money man, as it were, who's offering to match dollar for donations from day 11 now on. So, Mr. Moneybags, that's 405 in your corner. So what that means is, because of you guys, in less than 24 hours, we added another $810 to what we're already accumulating. That's amazing. I would do that video every day and deal with the challenges of relaxing afterwards if it's going to get $800 for veteran suicide every day. That's amazing. That's fantastic. And that speaks to you folks who are looking at these videos and going, wow, I never really thought of this issue. Wow, I never really thought about the reality of suicide, veteran suicide. It's easy to say, wow, yeah, they're killing themselves, this is bad. But to see it in that kind of presentation, I think really hammered it home. Now, the other thing that I think we need to move past to make a difference, okay, now we're recognizing it. Now we know what to look for. Now we know it can be anybody. That's where we've gone with these videos. We've talked about that. What we need to do is remove our assumptions. So I think sometimes we get in the habit of looking at somebody and not recognizing their struggles for what they are. Because we get so lost in just the day-to-day humdrum that when something isn't necessarily status quo, we'll look at it and just wait for it to fix itself. Like it's a glitch in the matrix, so to speak. And we will take for granted that maybe it's a cry for help, or maybe it's something somebody's struggling with, or we won't recognize what the struggle is. And rather than reach out and say, hey, is there anything I can help you with? Hey, I'm here for you. We're like, oh, they'll figure it out. They'll get it. I don't need to worry about it. They've got this. Sometimes they don't got this. So I was talking with a friend today, and she told me this story that I thought was incredibly fitting to this situation, in that she was telling me of a story where she was at work and manages to look out the window, and it's icy, it's snowy out. Apparently there's a hill right by where she works, and you see this car in the ice and snow that gets stuck, but they can't really figure out what they need to do, backwards, forwards, side to side, and they're struggling and struggling and struggling, and everybody in the office just kind of watches. Everybody in the office kind of waits for the problem to fix itself. I guess a random stranger comes by, tries to help push up the hill. Nothing happens, so they give up. They move on. They don't bother to talk to the driver, come up with a solution, until eventually my friend gets tired of watching this and says, man, maybe somebody does need to go out there. Maybe this person isn't figuring this out. She goes out there and finds, ironically enough, befitting to this video series I'm making, an older veteran who's handicapped, can't get out of the car on the ice, can't figure out what they need to do, can't see maybe well enough behind them to know how to get out of this situation. So after speaking to this individual and coming up with a plan with this individual, is able to help guide them down the hill and direct them on a different path to their destination that's a little clearer. That's fantastic. That's what we're trying to do. That's the exact thing we're trying to do. We're wanting to take our veterans who are struggling on this hill. They're trying to get to that good life that they know they deserve, that they want, that they need, but they're sliding in that ice and snow of depression, of hopelessness. and they're giving up, and they're sliding and they're sliding and they're sliding until eventually they decide that I just can't do this and end it all. What we are trying to do is take our time, our money, give it to a charity that can do this, or do it on our own. Talk to people. They might just need a little help backing out of the bad situation and directed down a different path. Maybe they're struggling really hard to get a job in a certain field or in a certain way along a certain path, and they can't get it. Maybe they need you to come over and say, hey, it's okay, you're struggling. How about you try this other thing? I mean, that's a job. That's something that might pay off for you. That's something I think you'd be really good at. Next thing you know, they have a job. They're happy. They're successful in that job. They move forward. Just an example. Oh my gosh, I'm trying to get into the VA, which, I'll be honest, I haven't had a lot of the terrible experiences with the VA that a lot of people have. But I will say it is difficult to get in. Scheduling an appointment is challenging. Getting there is challenging because it's not like, hey, I can go to any hospital within 10 miles where I'm at. You are set, like, hey, I have to go to Des Moines. For me, that's a 45-minute drive to get to the VA. I'd have to take a day off work. But you have a lot of older veterans. They don't have transportation. And yeah, there are ways to get transportation, but that's not always easy. And there are so many loopholes. There are so many hurdles. There is so much red tape, just like in the military, just like trying to get anything done with a government agency. It can be overwhelming. And then on top of that, there are only so many VA systems. There are only so many VA medical workers. There are only so many places to seek that kind of treatment that the system is overwhelmed. So it's even more challenging to be able to get in there because you may end up on a wait list. So yeah, the VA system has some challenges. So we need to redirect them down a different path. It doesn't mean we give up on getting them there. Maybe instead of charging up this hill and doing it this way, maybe, okay, hey, make an appointment. We'll back on down. You can talk to me for a while until we get you in there. Or maybe your friend can help take you there. Or maybe the VA system isn't the right thing. Maybe it's an organization like Mission 22. Maybe it's going to your church if that's your thing. Maybe it's talking to your friends. Maybe it's your bartender. I don't know. But if this struggle, if you're stuck, if you can't go up the hill anymore, just back it on out, take a different road. And if you see somebody struggling, those wheels are spinning, they need help and they're not getting it. Don't wait for somebody to come along and push them the rest of the way up the hill. Go talk to them. Help them. Help them back down off that hill and help them find a clearer path. That's my challenge to you. That's what we're trying to do here. And I don't know if she knew that's where I was going with this story, but it was such an amazing story. And it so fit how I was feeling about this that I couldn't help but steal it. So I appreciate your story. Now, our painting. This is a slow start on our auction, but here we are. Another bid today. $100 for this. For this painting that started it all, that made me think, hey, maybe I'm going to get a few bucks for this that I can put towards a charity. And then you people have blown me out of the water with your giving. And now here we are over $2,000 for a charity to help with veteran suicide. You guys are amazing. $100 bid on the painting. Reminder, all of that goes to the charity. I'm not taking a dime of that. I'm not charging you shipping. I will get it to you however I need to. I'll strap it to a camel, walk it to you. I don't care. All that money goes to charity. And if this painting that I did, that I put time into, that represents a part of me, can make a difference, by God, take this from me. So, I'll be honest, I probably need to start going back and watching some of these videos and trying to figure out what stories I've told, what stories I haven't told. So if I've told this one once before, apologize, fast forward through. It was actually one I meant to tell last night, but for those of you who have watched last night's video will understand I was a little less coherent, I was a little less focused. I had had a lot of Jameson celebrating St. Patrick's Day. So for the majority of my time in the service, I was an infantryman. I was a machine gunner. I was a grunt. I was in the woods, in the desert, wherever, humping my giant gun, walking everywhere for the most part. Though we did use Humvees when I was on deployment, mostly. These are what got me around. So there was a time, for a short while, where I was tasked with being the colonel's driver, which was an interesting experience. So I was driving around in a Humvee. Now, again, we have to remember I'm older. So I enlisted in 1999. There was no armed conflict at that time. We're talking pre 9/11. And at that point, it was still regularly common to drive around in non-armored Humvees. In fact, a lot of that armor didn't hit until after we started engaging in conflict and realizing, hey, these trucks need more protection from the IEDs, roadside bombs, and small arms fire, etc. In fact, some of the Humvees we had on my deployment were either minimally armored or poorly armored because it was still early enough, 05, 06, where a lot of the armor that is in place now, enclosed turrets, etc., weren't quite developed or weren't rolled out to absolutely everybody yet. In fact, I was fairly exposed, and we had an armored kind of I wouldn't say a skirt, kind of an upside down skirt around the turret, but it only came up about yay high for me. But anyway, peacetime, I'm driving the colonel around. And what we're doing is we're visiting different units that are out on a large scale exercise, and he's checking in with the different commanders at the different company level, etc. So as we're cruising around, he's looking at the map, telling me where we're going next. I'm driving. We're on this gravel road, and all of a sudden, right in front of me, in the middle of the gravel road, is a giant bear. I come to a screeching halt. Not screeching, it's gravel. We'll call it a crunching halt. Boom. Now again, like I said, peacetime, no armor. We're talking cloth top Humvee, cloth doors. Yeah. I'm like, I come to this side, what the hell's wrong with you, specialist? What the hell's going on? Oh shit. Back up real slow. So we're backing up nice and slow. The bear kind of lumbers forward with us at the same pace. He's like, not so slow, go faster. Go a little faster. So we backed out a little ways, got enough distance that I could quick make the turnaround, and it wasn't charging us, it wasn't super menacing, just one of those things where you're like, oh shit, there's a bear in the road. I am not protected from that. So, just a fun memory. Always going to be there. Good times. So, all right. 22 push-ups. And again, 22. Why 22? 22 veterans every day. 22. It's almost 1 an hour, folks. Suicide, killing themselves, shooting themselves, taking pills, hanging themselves, driving into something. any number of other ways. Don't ignore it. Don't let them keep driving up that hill that they obviously can't get over. Help redirect them. Reach out. Alrighty, so one thing that I have found with push-ups and a lot of people is this is a challenge. Palming the ground, and I can relate. A couple years ago I had wrist surgery. I couldn't pull this back farther than this for a long time. So push-ups, to this day, doing these videos, there are days where I struggle because it hurts extremely through here because my wrist still struggles with that kind of flexion. So there are solutions. Obviously, we can do knuckles. Now, on the surface, or depending upon your surface, that might not be feasible. It can be painful. It can be uncomfortable. But the point is, what we're trying to do is instead of breaking the wrist plane this direction, keeping it here, keeping that wrist locked, keeping a solid foundation as opposed to being like this. So, another technique and I don't know how well these are going to work. I didn't think this through before I chose this variation, is dumbbells. It allows you to protect the knuckles because now you've got something raising you up off the ground, but then gives you a handle so you can keep that wrist like this. And I have a lot of clients that I work with who have had that issue, and I always just say, hey, if you can't do this, let me know. We'll get some handles. We'll do it like this. And there are other devices for that, the perfect push-up, etc., so on and such forth. So I am noticing these really aren't necessarily fat enough for this, but I also don't have a huge problem with my knuckles on the ground. So, actually I take that back. This is much better. So I'm just keeping my wrist more solidified. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Ooh. Again, no padding. I probably should have grabbed a yoga mat or something. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Ooh. Now I would recommend a pad of some sort. Dumbbells. Don't do it on a bare concrete floor. 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 22, 22 every day. We can make a difference. So again, don't let them fight up that hill. Help them back out. Help them find another path.